individual to leverage the magic arts of positive motivation and manipulation. And I don't know, I hope you all are learning as much as I'm learning. I hope you're all gaining leverage in all areas of your life. I've probably right now got the biggest challenge I've ever had in my entire life coming up tomorrow. And man, am I glad, for this course. It's like, oh my gracious, this thing's so amazing. And so last week, Randy Lupke had presented something in the Q&A, so we're still on lesson 1. Man, ask questions. I want to get to lesson 2 and then lesson 3 and 4 and 5, 6, and 7. So I want to do that, but I want to make sure that we all have this is why the backstage passes are so important, because if we don't have the foundation down really solid, then whatever we build on, it's going to collapse, and that's no fun. So, Jill, what was the assignment that Tom gave you and Randy last week?
To write down, to keep the end in mind, and what do I want to accomplish. This is what I took from it. What would that look like? Make a list of all the obstacles. What do I have to give up to get over each of the obstacles? Is it really worth it to me to give it up? And then go back and repeat. Take one obstacle at a time and go back and repeat until I've gone through each of them. And then 5 things I want to do this week.
And so did you do all of that?
I got to the part where is it really worth it for me to give it up?
Okay. And then what happened?
Then I didn't know if it was really worth it. There's some things that I can scale them down, but I don't feel like I can give them up completely.
Okay, this is why, now I understand why Tom gave the advice he did. It's like, okay, I get it. Tom, any thoughts or questions for Jill?
Well, yeah, so let's assume that you were going to go from point A to point B in a car. And the things you're going to need are probably a road or some kind of thing that you can move on. Probably need a car if it's a long distance in order to get to your destination, and probably need some time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. If as you're going through step 4, you agree that you're going to have to give up the road or the trail or whatever it is, and you're just going to have to hike out there, would it be worth your time and effort to do that?
That's where I have to say it depends.
On what? On the only thing it depends on is if you want to get to the outcome you're looking for.
See, this is, and I've never told Tom this, but this is the challenge I've always had with that model. To me, it's just it makes sense to me on a surface level, but when it gets down to the application level, I really struggle with it.
Why is that?
Well, because it seems to work good academically, but in practicality, it's it's not concrete enough for me. It's not mushy. Go ahead, Peter.
Mark, well, I use a similar analogy with flying, but when I look back, and I've worked on 3 continents in 5 different industries, right? There's been times where when I was 32, I sat down basically doing what Tom said and said, what do I want to do? And I literally wrote cars, bikes, boats, planes. And I just chose cars. And so that was the destination I was picking. The path to getting there, when you haven't even taken the first step, is, it's almost overwhelming. You've got to take the first step, but you know where the destination is, And you then start looking at what can you do? Who do you know? What do you say to make yourself appealing? So that's the minutia. So I agree it sounds sort of academic or philosophical, but the reality is it starts with deciding a decision to go somewhere, a direction, a specific goal. And if you're starting from, ground zero, it can be overwhelming. But as you start going forward, if one door closes, you have to find another one that's open, and that's back to what you do, what you learn, but you're heading in a direction. And I can apply the same philosophy and academic principles to having $1 billion loss dropped on your plate when you're chief operating officer. And you got to have that picture, making $1 billion when you're losing $1 billion sounds impossible because the whole team has got you to that loss. So the exploration, when you're flying a plane or driving a car or flying a plane, you're going to land on an island 5,000 miles away. There's a lot of systems and technology to deal with storms and altitude and wind direction and all that kind of stuff that gets you to that little runway far away from when you start. When you're setting out on a personal goal, it's not so clear. The system, to me, is more clear today than it was 30 years ago. It seems somewhat haphazard. But it does involve exploration, risk. But the exploration and risk, as long as you know you're pointed north because you want to go north, or west because you want to go west, or towards a particular financial goal, personal goal, and the things you're doing are consistent with that direction, then it's about recognizing when you've hit an obstacle you can't go round, through, or over.
So let's go ahead and go into the Q&A because we're going to dig into it deeper. As you're going through this, I don't know about all of you. The more I know about leverage, the more I know I don't know. It's like, oh my gracious, in a way it's easy, in another way it's complicated. So here we go into the Q&A, 5-second pause, and then we'll dive right in.